right, you're watching the Power Hour, and today we'll be discussing strategies for successfully managing life's changes. Change is a natural and constant part of life, but it can also bring feelings of uncertainty and stress. Joining me here is Melanie, and she's going to share some tips and strategies on how to navigate through these changes with ease and grace.
hmm
Melanie, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. First off, I want to start by saying thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Oh, no, thank you for having me on. I
Let's
appreciate
Yes, let's jump right into it.
it.
What are
Okay.
some common challenges people face when going through life's changes?
Yeah, I mean, changes can be hard and they can also be exciting. I think either way, there's an uncertainty and an unknown to it, So even like if you think you know what you're going to expect, a lot of the times it can turn out differently.
Right,
So it can be hard.
right. Now, give us a few. What are some of life's changes? What can some of those changes be?
Yeah, so I think there's a bunch. Like going away to college, maybe, going through a breakup, uh, getting married, having a baby, moving to a new state.
Mm.
Um, some some are like chosen and then some aren't chosen, also like leaving a job, being let go. Some, like I said before, can be exciting and then some could be kind of hard.
Yeah, and I think the ones that can be really hard is when you're dealing with health changes.
Mm, mhm,
Because life can throw us a curveball. Anything can easily happen in life, good or bad, that can put us in a position to where we have to change. And life is full of changes. Um,
absolutely.
how
Yeah.
can someone cope better with these changes? How can we cope with these changes?
Yeah. So, what I mentioned before with the unknown and the uncertainty,
Mhm.
kind of learning to like sit with that and become familiar with it, kind of become friends with it,
Right.
because your mind is always going to try to find certainty. So, a lot of the times you'll try to come up with different conclusions and picture different scenarios, but it's hard because you don't know for sure what that's going to look like, you
Right.
know? So, being able to sit in the uncertainty, even though it's uncomfortable, right? It's something that we kind of have to do. And then also just making room for mistakes and being patient with yourself, because like even in therapy, clients that they're making progress and they're feeling really great, a lot of the times, if they, let's say, like engaged in an old behavior, they'll feel like, oh, I made a setback. But change and progress is not linear. So acknowledging the heart and making that room for, okay, it's okay to make mistakes, and having that consistency in, okay, I'm gonna keep trying. That's really important too.
If you're just tuning in, we're talking about life changes. Uh, you hear a lot of times older folks don't like change.
No, I think a lot of people don't like change,
It's
but
setting there. We're setting our ways. We want what we know to be normal in
mm,
our in what we have going on our everyday activities. Now, with that comes emotions.
mhm,
Do you know what I mean? How can we manage our emotions during times of a major change?
mm. So it's really important to like consistently check in with yourself, right? So how am I feeling? Is there anything that I need right now? Because it can be easy to lose sight of that, especially when we are going through a change. There's also like stages of readiness too, or stages of change. So there's 5 different stages. There's pre-contemplation, that's like, it's not really on your radar yet. There's contemplation, which is, okay, maybe this is something that I'm starting to think about a little bit. There's preparation, where you're preparing to make the changes. There's action where, okay, you're starting to make the changes now. And then there's maintenance where you're maintaining the behaviors, you're changing, right? So by meeting yourself where you're at, let's say I'm at the pre-contemplation stage, right? What would I need? Maybe a pros and cons list. could help me,
Right.
right? Kind of seeing the pros of the change, the cons of the change. And yeah, so just meeting yourself where you're at is really important and allowing yourself to feel how you feel. I know I keep saying that, but it's important.
Yeah, you have to. You have to allow yourself to feel the way you're feeling. I mean, you know, in your experience, what are some of the most effective strategies for dealing with change?
Mhm. So to again kind of like meet yourself where you're at, writing out your emotions, because like I said, you are going to have a lot of different emotions with change, but emotions and feelings come and go, so if you're feeling nervous about a change today or upset about a change, maybe tomorrow you might feel differently. So if you could think of feelings like a wave, they build, they hit their peak, and then they
Right.
crash, right? So just kind of writing that out and remembering how resilient you are too, right? Like if you think about all the past experiences that you've been through and all the times where you were nervous or you thought you wouldn't be able to make it through, you're here, right? Like
Mhm.
you're watching this, you made it. So when we are in a really dark place, it's important to have your coping outlets, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, just because you are in a dark place, that's probably more of a time now than ever to make sure that you are still doing things you enjoy, even though it's harder, you know, but, talk to your friends or family about it, journal, try to exercise, go for a walk outside, being mindful of what does bring you some kind of joy, engaging in your values still, If you tell yourself to do something or don't do something, the more you tell yourself to do something, the more your brain is gonna look at this as like, "Oh, okay, this is something they're really thinking about. We have to keep an eye on this." Right? So your brain is giving that more attention, which is then doing the opposite of what you're trying to do, you
Yeah.
know? So your mind, if you are experiencing like an uncomfortable feeling or a feeling that you do wanna get rid of, and we do, each time we try to like avoid, right, or escape or get rid of, it's showing our mind that, okay, each time we have an unpleasant feeling, we need to get rid of it. So then
Right.
we're not able to cope with it. So the more we're able to sit with it and be with it, we're showing our mind that, okay, yes, we're feeling uncomfortable and it's not something that we have to get rid of. We can be with uncomfortable emotions. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like you have a story, a backstory that brought you to the person you are today. You want to share that with us?
Sure. I look like I have a story?
I mean, everyone has a story
That's true. That is true.
that
Yeah.
makes us who we are, and right now you're in a place, it seems, in your life where you're right here. You know what I mean? How did
Mm,
you get there?
mm. So, I can talk about a story of change
Yes.
that has kinda brought me to where I am today. Um, so about gonna be a little vulnerable here, but that's okay.
Right.
Um, about 2 years ago, I made the decision to get sober.
Hmm.
So, I was struggling with mental health at the time too, right?
Hmm.
And was negatively impacting my relationship. I was isolating. I wasn't able to work, so I wasn't working. Um, it was affecting my relationship with my friends and my family. I was isolating. I wasn't really like leaving the house a lot. So it was something I know I needed to do, but like didn't want to do. So one day, I was using and my boyfriend was like, Mel, like, what are you doing? And it wasn't just like what are you doing? It was like what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your life? And after he said that, I got in the car and I started crying because I realized that like I needed to make this change. But I've been putting this change off because going through the mental health issues that I was going through, it's not like this is the first time I've thought about being sober, but I put it off because being sober with my thoughts was like really difficult.
Right.
But I knew I couldn't continue doing what I was doing when using, so I made the change. I started seeing a new therapist. I went to groups for outpatient, and little by little, I was able to learn about myself and was able to challenge myself. I started grocery shopping again because I was anxious grocery shopping. Um, and it was still hard. Like I was still doing, kind of my old behaviors, but I noticed I was doing it less and less, and the like positive behaviors were becoming more and more. So, you know, over time, learning to sit in the discomfort, I can feel uncomfortable and do it anyway. I feel like that's the biggest thing that I've learned from therapy is we can sit in uncomfortable emotions. We don't have to get rid of them and be with uncertainty, So yeah, I've been sober about 2 years. Moved down to Florida with my boyfriend and things are going well. And I'm happy. So, and I'm on your show, so
Gotta give it up to you. I'm
thank
so
you.
proud of you in your journey.
Thanks.
Yeah. You're doing your thing. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And what I like most about you is that you're giving back, and you're helping those who may be going down the paths you went through.
Exactly.
And you're throwing a rope over the fence and pulling those people out to safety, and that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really interesting because I was thinking about this, like I see a little bit of myself in like each of my clients, and I think that's why I like love what I do. It's because I can relate to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do want to help others because the awareness of mental health it has gotten better. The stigma has gotten better. And yeah, I've always wanted to kind of help.
Right. It's always effective. Your help is always effective when you've been where they are.
Yeah.
So it definitely works, and they can relate to you. Do you have any success stories that you can share with us?
Personal or like with clients?
With clients.
Yeah. So this is back when I lived in Buffalo. I was working at an outpatient substance use center, and I had a client who, at first, he was in like complete denial about his use. He would kind of like make excuses about why he got in trouble and things like that. And over time, we went through like the stages of change. And eventually, like, he would come in every now and then and he'd relapse but he got to learn more about it and, what the drugs like provided for him. And he took it seriously, which is the really important thing. He took his mental health seriously. He took sobriety seriously. And I mean, I don't know where he's at today. I lived in Buffalo, I think like 5 or 6 years ago. But on his last day, he just wrote me a card, which I still have, and I really appreciate just like thanking me for helping him. He graduated the program. He graduated his legal program. So that's like one of the success stories that I still remember.
Nice. Thank you for joining me, Melanie Basio, right here on the Power Hour.
Yeah, you said my last name right. Nice. And thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure talking to you.